Shalom.
Shalom, family.
We want to talk a little bit about some of the contentions that we've seen that's dealing with the Hebrew language.
Yes, a lot of our people, if you see the bickerings back and forth on Facebook and other social networks, you'll see that there's always these battles over how to pronounce certain Hebrew names, certain Hebrew words, how to spell them, how they should be spoken, and all of this battling back and forth is so counterproductive.
Yeah.
It is not productive at all because none of us knows for sure how anything was spelled or spoken or any of that. Because when you look at the original language that our people had, the vowel points didn't even exist.
Exactly. None of the vowel points existed. And then one of the issues that I'm having is I'm having a problem with someone trying to show me where there is some type of manuscript of something that's old that's actually showing the pronunciation of these Paleo-Hebrew letters. And so that being said, let's go to what the Word had to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now this is in Zephaniah chapter 3, and we're going to start reading at verse 8 through 10. And it says, "Therefore wait ye upon me, saith Yahuwah," or saith Yah, "until the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with fire, with the fire of my jealousy. For then," talking about then, "will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of Yah, to serve him with one consent. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my supplements, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring my offering." Now, one key thing I want to talk about here is that if you notice, it's talking about the end days.
Yes.
This is where, at the time that the Most High is going to pour out his wrath.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, when I gather all those nations, you know, in Revelation, I think he said, Revelation or Ezekiel, he said, you're going to gather these nations in the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? Well, guess what? Not Jehoshaphat, Yehoshaphat, okay? But he's going to gather them in this valley, right? And then what he says, to what? Judge these nations. He's going to pour out his wrath upon these nations, right? This is during that time. And he says, "For then," which means at that time, "will I return." See, they got turn here. It's actually return to the people a pure language.
Pure language.
So, my question to you is, if we already got this pure language, or we done already figured it out, or we already know how things are supposed to pronunciate, then why does he have to return it to us here?
At that time.
At that time.
So then all of this bickering, oh, you're not saying it right. We're not supposed to be called Yisrael. We're called Yasharal, or we're not supposed to be called Judah or Yehuda. It's actually Yahudim. I mean, all of these different contentions, bickerings back and forth. Oh, you're spelling his name with a U. You're spelling it with a W. You're of the devil. You see how ignorant and foolish this sounds, that we're bickering back and forth as if we have it right. And I have a feeling that none of us probably have it 100% right in terms of the Hebrew language. Because why then, what the Father says, then, at that time, in the future, that I will return to the people a pure language. If that pure language already existed,
that's right,
what would the need be for that passage? Because then I'm reminded of another passage in the Old Testament where it says, "What is his name and what is his son's name, if thou canst tell?" He's saying that because he knows that things have been twisted up and turned around with not just the language, but other things too.
That's right, with other things too. You know, it's amazing here, you know, like my wife was saying about all of that. You know, it's amazing how distracted a person can get by these things. Now, a person can say, yeah, you call it a distraction. Let me tell you what I mean by a distraction, because sometimes people don't understand what I mean when I say a distraction. Okay? Well, they'll say, well, how is it distracting if you're trying to get to the bottom of truth and you're trying to... I'm going to tell you what I mean by distraction. Okay? Let's say someone is coming to you to tell you, hey, guess what? You know, there is an awesome blessing for you in the right room. Okay? And that's in the RIGTH room. And you sit there and say, you know what? It's not right as in RIGHT. I think it's the other right. You know, like WRITE. And you know, if it's WRITE, then what I think is the way you're spelling it is it's supposed to start with a W and not an R. And they go all this, but guess what? They just forgot that the guy was trying to tell them that they had a huge blessing in the other room.
That's a good point.
You don't miss your blessing because you're too busy trying to figure out the W or whether it's an R instead of just going right on in the room and getting that blessing. That's what I mean by it.
Yeah, that's
you
what
see
we
what I'm
mind
saying?
distractions. And another good example too.
Yes.
Is how some of our people are going off in left field trying to figure out the shape of the earth and all of this stuff, right? And they're saying that there are things that we shouldn't be ignorant of, right? But a lot of these people don't have the Ruach. They don't know if their calling is sure. They don't know if their salvation is sure. They don't know if they're living right. All of this, but they're trying to figure out the shape of the earth and have convinced themselves that this is the greatest deception of against mankind. You see, there have been people who have actually said that this is Satan's greatest deception. Now, we talked about that before.
Yeah.
The greatest deception was what has happened to us as a people.
Yeah, that's the greatest deception.
Exactly.
The whole world has been fooled about that
The
thing.
whole world has been fooled. And believe it or not, the condition of this world is hinged upon us waking up. You see?
That's right.
Because once we wake up, the whole landscape of everything is going to change.
That's
but
right.
because we are asleep, everything is in turmoil and chaos.
That's right.
But yet we think the earth's shape is more important. And so we get so distracted by these things and so many other foolish things. I even believe the Illuminati garbage is a distraction.
And there may very well be an Illuminati.
I believe it is.
But there's a thing where when you get hit with so much of this stuff, you know what I mean? And that there are other things that are more important, like whether or not you're actually grafted into. In my opinion, that's more important than these other things over here. The person says, yeah, but you can't weigh truth. And yes, you can weigh what truth is more important than other truth.
Yes, you can.
Come
Absolutely.
on now. You can weigh that because some truth deals directly with your salvation.
That's right.
Okay? For instance, if you're not one of those that's going to make it through that door and that door closed, I don't care whether you know the earth is round, whether it's flat. I don't care whether you know how to say this or say that. Guess what? That door closed now. Because you didn't do what you had to do to get through that door. That door's closed. Ain't nobody opening that door now. You see? So I think there is some truth that's more important than other truths out
Absolutely.
there. Of course, all truth is good, but it's just like I say, there's truth. But let me give you an example of something. There's truth about the dirt outside. There's truth about the sky. There's truth about Elohim. And there's truth about the devil. Yeah, there's some things about the devil that's truth, and there's some things about him that are lies. Okay? There's truth about anything and everything. So you mean to tell me all truth is measured the same?
No.
Nope. There's measurements and degrees to what truth are more important than other truth, right?
Yeah, it's true that some people like liver, some don't. Some people like fried chicken, some don't.
Some don't. There's a whole lot of different truths out there, right? Okay.
But when you think in terms of distractions, though, it's the distractions that cause people to lose focus on what is important. It kind of reminds me of people being tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. So that lets you know that these winds of doctrine or these different beliefs coming from all these different directions doesn't mean that we have to grab a hold of them. And so when you think about all of the arguing about the spelling of names and the pronunciation of names and all of these other things, what condition is your soul in while you're doing all of that? And we're asking people to stay focused on the journey ahead.
Yeah.
Because just say you were running for your life up a road and there was a lion on your heels.
Yeah.
I doubt very seriously if you're going to stop on the side of the road to try to examine this little piece of this coin that you see. I don't care if it was $100 bill on the side of the road. If you're trying to get away from a lion, I doubt very seriously if you will stop running to go and get that $100 bill.
That's right.
You're going to be dealing with that lion on your heels and trying your best to get away from him.
That's right.
And not concerning yourself with that $100 bill.
That's right. Now another thing is, it's not just the same with the way the Hebrew letters or words are pronounced and all of this. Here's another one. Okay, now there's a lot of people saying, well, the Sabbath is on this day. No, the Sabbath is on that day. No, we're supposed to go by the moon. No, we're supposed to go by this calendar and that calendar, right? We're saying that about the feast days. You know, the Passover is here, just like the Passover just passed, but there's a Passover that's coming up on the 22nd
through the 30th.
You see, to the 30th. So you got people saying, which Passover is it, man? I'm trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? And so everybody's trying to figure out this and figure that. But we got a nice scripture here that we want to read to you, and we want you to really think about these things that we're saying here, okay? Now, I guess I'll let you read this.
Okay, this is in Jubilees chapter 6, verse 34 through 38. And it says, and all the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the months and the seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto you, and it is not of my own devising. For the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tables the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons, and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the set apart with the unclean, and the unclean day with the set apart. For they will go wrong as to the months and Shabbats, and feast and jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to you, that ye may testify to them, for after your death your children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong as to the months and the seasons and Sabbaths and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh.
Now, don't that sound just like the situation we're in right now? Right?
Yes.
But guess what? We're in the land of our captivity. So it's almost like when you look at the scripture, and the scripture makes it clear on the feast days that you ain't supposed to really keep those feast days unless you're in Jerusalem. So when everyone is trying to actually keep these days according to the law, then it's like, you might not have the right day, and you said you may be doing it on a wicked day and not a good and not a righteous day.
Yes.
See, and this is why I also believe this here too. There's a Sabbath that we enter into.
Yes.
His rest. When we enter into His rest, this is a spiritual Sabbath. Technically, in all honesty, every day is supposed to be like a Sabbath with you. You're supposed to keep every day holy, not just from the first day of the week to the seventh day of the week. You're supposed to keep every day holy as if it's the Sabbath. Now, as far as we're concerned, of course, I understand when the Sabbath come around, you want to say, okay, well, I don't want to work or whatever, and I want to set aside a day. But keep in mind, y'all, everybody need to keep in mind that because these things are so mixed up and everybody's trying to find out this, trying to find out that, the scripture made it clear that nobody is going to know it because he done switched things and got so switched around.
And everybody's getting it wrong.
That's
Just like
right.
the passage says,
That's right.
that we would get it wrong and our children would get it wrong.
That's right.
And so the main reason we did this video is concerning the contentions. Why are we fighting each other over spellings and pronunciations and feast days and all of this as if we are the ones who have it right? How do you know this person don't have it right? from what the scripture is saying, none of us have it right, because the heathen done mix things up so bad. That's why the scripture says, and they will think to change times and laws. You see, and so we are so confused in things right now. And we should actually live by the scripture says we walk by faith and not by sight.
Yeah.
You see, because if we walked by sight only, we would be so confused. You've had those who have said, okay, I'm going to observe the Sabbath according to the moon. But then when they got into it and they tried to figure it out according to the moon, and there were some days the moon wasn't even visible, they were like, well, forget it. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? You get frustrated because we really don't know. We really don't have a clue, because things have been turned around for so long. It's not like things went out of whack 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
Things have been out of whack for thousands of years. So who can really truly say that they have things right? And so therefore, why all the contentions?
Yeah.
Why are we fighting and hating one another over something like that?
You know, one thing, this is why I believe this here. This is why the scripture tells us that we should receive the Ruach. Because when you receive the Ruach, then you understand that every day is a holy day. Every day is a Sabbath day with you. Every day you're supposed to live righteous, okay? And this is why, you know what, when I first received the Ruach, and I was a Christian at the time that I first received the Ruach. You know what's amazing about that? The Most High was showing me the feast days back then, and was showing me the spiritual aspect of the feast days, and to keep the spiritual aspect of the feast days. I didn't even know we were the people, and he was calling me Jacob. I was praying the Most High would call me Israel. And I said, why you keep calling me Israel? Why you keep calling me Jacob? You know? And so the bottom line is the Most High said he knew. And so I've learned this here, that if you walk after the Spirit, walk in the Spirit, then you can't go wrong, because the Spirit will reveal to you what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Just like I remember one day when I came into a lot of this understanding, and what day was that? The Passover came, and we was trying to get all the unleavened bread out of the house, and we was going through the house getting all the unleavened bread. Yeah, I'm sorry, trying to get the leaven out of the home. Excuse me, trying to get all the leaven out of the home. And let me tell you what happened. We got all 11 out of the home, and I was like, okay, we got it all out. And so we started getting in the Word and everything, and more than halfway through the week, I came across some leaven in the house, and I was like, oh, man. And so when I saw that, it was like the Most High started speaking to me and said, no, I want you to understand what I want you to do. He said, we getting it confused. Because he said, you keep the Passover, but Christ is our Passover. Yahushua is our Passover, right? Then he showed me how leaven, he's talking about sin, and he's talking about falsisms and matters of the heart, doctrines of devils. He said, this is all the stuff you need to make sure is out of your life.
That's right.
We're concerned about getting yeast out of our home, but getting baking soda and sitting up got sin in your heart. So that's what he was trying to show me about all that stuff. He was trying to show me the spiritual aspect of all of these things that is spiritual, but you need the Ruach for him to reveal these things to you.
That's right.
And so that's the part that you've been telling me, okay, this is what I want you to walk in, because technically we're in the land of our captivity. We are in the land of our captivity. And I done went through the scriptures, and I can't find it anywhere in the scriptures where it say that we're supposed to keep the Passover or keep any of these feast days outside of the land of in the land of our captivity, outside of Jerusalem.
Especially when it talks about the sacrificial lamb. There was a way that lamb was supposed to be prepared. We've talked about this before. And going to the meat market to get a lamb that you don't even know how it was slaughtered, if it was slaughtered according to scripture, was it a year and a day? Was it clean? Did it have a blemish on it? You see, and we think if we go to Bubba's meat market and get a half a pound of lamb, that's going to be the same. You're not keeping the feast according to what the scripture says. And so therefore, we need to end all these contentions and fighting, because none of us are right. You see, none of us are right. We're trying to get as close as we can to living righteously. But when it comes to pronunciations of the Hebrew language, when it comes to celebrating feast days and knowing exactly what's what, why get mad at your brothers and sisters who may not agree with you on it? Because this is, to me, it's not a thing of agreeing with someone, especially when the Most High already told us that he was going to turn this thing around, that he was going to allow all this confusion to overtake us, because we were disobedient. As a people, we were disobedient. And so that's why we have been thrust into all of this chaos.
Yeah.
And not being sure of things. We brought this on ourselves, and so the last thing we need to do is be trying to fight each other over pronunciations and things of that nature. Of course, if someone is blatantly saying, like JC for instance, you know that ain't the name because it wasn't no letter J. We're not talking about that name, trying to justify that. We're talking about is it Yahushua or Yahawashai or Yahuwah or Yahweh? That we're talking about things that people have studied out, and there's some closeness to what it could possibly be. But if you remember what the word says, it still said, what is his name and what is his son's name, if thou canst tell.
It also says what? That when he comes back, that's when he's going to do what? Restore the language.
Yes. So
we got to keep that in mind. He didn't say we were going to restore that language. That ain't in the word. It said he was going to restore it.
And you know what else it said?
Yeah.
It also said that he was going to tell us his new name.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sure did say that. He said, "I'm going to tell you my new name. Really?
Yes.
I'm going to write upon my head." Or no, he said, on our head his new name. Mm-hmm. You see, so that's a revelation.
So that's going to end all the fighting too.
So on that note, I hope this kind of cleared up some things. That's why I strongly believe in seeking the Most High. Now, are we saying don't seek truth? No, we saying continue to seek truth. Right? If you find out something that's the truth, but you can validate that it's the truth, then that's fine. Go for it. You know what I'm saying? And there's some, that's just the way I am. I do believe in seeking the truth, and so.
Just keep in mind too, there's one last thing before we let you go. A lot of the information, the text and the books and all of the stuff that we have before us has been translated by who?
Gentiles. Gentiles.
Yep.
It's like I went to do some research, and a lot of the research I was finding was Gentiles. Everything was Gentiles. Handled it, dealt with it, interpreted it, and I said, man, it can get frustrating,
That's why the word says that we must walk in the Spirit and be led of the Spirit.
That's right. And he will do what? Guide you into all truth.
That's right.
Well, on that note,
we shall say
shalom.